Because the storm was so intense, was the media's coverage of it too intense, too alarming? Some residents of relatively unaffected areas feel that way, and Fox 40 meteorologist Kate Thornton takes a look at that element of the storm.
I thought the storm was going to be a lot worse.
I was expecting something like more drastic.
The southern tier is pretty lucky that we got only mild part of the storm.
The little impact Sandy had on the Binghamton area has left many relieved, especially after what we went through just over a year ago. The others are annoyed because so little happened.
Nothing happened, like nothing major, so I was like, that's stupid.
While some in the Northeast feel the storm was a little overhyped, the projections were pretty much right on target for coastal areas. Upstate and in the southern tier, the effects were harder to predict, but forecasters defend their coverage. And some residents we spoke with were glad they received advance warnings.
Last time I got stranded on campus, I didn't even have my medications for my blood sugar and everything, and I was well prepared this time.
I think it's definitely better to be safe than sorry. You can't really know what the weather's going to do ahead of time until it happens.
Of course, anybody who's watched the national news and saw what happened across pretty much from coastal New England down through New Jersey and Maryland knows that this storm was a really major, almost once-in-a-lifetime storm for some areas down there. And, you know, for here, it was just not that big and not that bad of a storm.
And the many BU students from the downstate area say they appreciate the massive coverage because of their concerns with families back home.
My hometown is pretty messed up. I spoke to my parents last night. We had about 8 feet of water in our basement. Every time I turned on the news, it was always on, so it was nice to see that they're really trying to make sure people understood what was happening.
All right, and Kate is back in our studios now. So, Kate, some viewers obviously, as we said, were quite appreciative of the coverage. Do you think that some who were upset were confusing predictions of what would happen along the coast with projections of what could happen up here, Kate?
Well, Larry, I think folks just kept hearing on the TV, especially the national news and social media, of this massive storm. Frankenstorm is what the National Hurricane Center was calling it. And everyone had their guard up, especially after what we went through with Lee and Irene last year. And everyone was preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. And lucky for us, we did get the best case scenario of Sandy.
All right, Kate, but since what would happen upstate was less certain, did the media go too far in hammering away on what might have happened, just might have happened?
Well, I'm going to answer that question with a question, as cliche as that is. Is it better to hype, for lack of better terms, a potentially dangerous storm so everyone is ready and prepared, or to downplay it and then have the worst happen? Well, for those who may feel they were maybe taken advantage of or may feel a little upset, you can think of it as now you're ready for when the next disaster does strike, because I'm telling you, it will eventually happen. Or, you know, if you want to, you can also donate your extra supplies to organizations who will send them to those in need, as in New York City, Long Island, and New Jersey.